Hello everyone! Legacy of the Dragonborn is perhaps my favorite mod for Skyrim. Anyone who's been following my Aldmeri Nobleman playthrough will know about the Legacy of the Dragonborn, or specifically the Dragonborn Gallery. It adds a museum to Solitude, that was the former Temple of Talos prior to the ban, and it has since been taken up by Arin. Arin's goal is to fill the gallery with cultural relics. In the process, you get hired to do some odd jobs, and those odd jobs eventually lead you to Helgen. If you've been using an alternate start mod, this will force the main quest. Otherwise, if you're not using an alternate start mod, then obviously you've been to Helgen before. Either way, it's safe to say the goods that were in Helgen have been destroyed. From that point on, you'll be Arin's partner, getting the museum set up. Once the museum opens up proper, you'll realize that pretty much every unique item in the game has a place in the gallery. Moreover, most mods that add collectibles have places in the gallery either on their own or via patches that you can install. Almost every large-scale mod, such as Worm's Tooth, Foulscar, Undeath, Moon and Star, Vigilant, and so many other mods, are either naturally a part of the gallery or enabled by patches, each expanding the gallery to the point where you could play the game for hundreds of hours and still not complete the gallery in a single playthrough. However, the gallery itself isn't the only thing Legacy of the Dragonborn brings to the table. As you progress through the gallery, you will unlock various quests relating to it and to the Explorers Guild, who you recruit members for. You're guildmaster of the guild right off the bat because you helped found it. Either way, you can send these members off to gather resources. Eventually, they'll all participate with you in brand new digs, which are these dungeons that you will explore and get relics from. Eventually, provided you've progressed far enough in the main quest, Tiber Septim's sword will get reforged, and you'll use it to enhance your Dragonborn powers. If you continue playing, you'll unlock a quest to reforge the Amulet of Kings that was shattered in Elder Scrolls 4, and after that, you'll be able to use Divine Power to reforge Tiber Septim's sword into whatever weapon that you use in your game. There are other weapons, of course, countless other weapons that you might choose as your primary one, but if you want to use shouts and the Dragonborn type powers, then that weapon, whatever you choose to transmute it into, either a staff or a dagger, so on, it'll become your primary ability. Or not, if you choose not to use it. There are countless other small side quests and actually large events that I've skipped over because if you want to be spoiled, you can just watch my Aldmeri Noble playthrough, or better yet, play it yourself. The mod itself, and all of the supported mods, and patchable mods, all highly recommended for just a gigantic playthrough of fun. Now, I know some of you are saying, well, having all these super powerful relics out in the open is a pretty stupid idea. And you'd be right, the developer actually thought of that. And there's a quest that shows up related to that fact. And after you progress far enough, you'll actually gain access to a hidden vault where you'll be able to store away these relics in a different location from the gallery and create replicas for the real relics. That way your immersion can remain intact if you so wish. Otherwise, you can ignore it. Anyway, that all said, today I'd like to talk about Odyssey of the Dragonborn. The same author who created Legacy of the Dragonborn has started working with a team to produce a new story. That is, a follow-up to Legacy of the Dragonborn and the main quest of Skyrim. The main premise of the storyline is, of course, that the last Dragonborn's story isn't over at the defeat of Alduin, and indeed there's a whole new set of challenges waiting as the wheel turns upon the last Dragonborn. Time has progressed, and now there's new stuff to find. It presents you with a whole new set of challenges the player will have to deal with. I sat in on 3 of the writing meetings, and I've got to say I'm quite excited at the direction the story is going. I'm going to be vague about it because first and foremost the developers say that these details are subject to change, and also because spoilers are bad, I guess. They want to keep certain details to themselves as they get ready to release more information about it when it's been set in stone. The gameplay concept itself is more or less you'll be traveling to select areas in Tamriel, some small sandboxes and dungeons that are present in the lore, that will serve an ongoing storyline. One of the main areas you'll be visiting is the Isle of Balfira. It's in the middle of the Iliac Bay. You've been to it in Elder Scrolls II Daggerfall. It's where the Adamantine Tower is. You can see a very early version of it on screen now. Obviously, that's just a rough skeleton of what to expect from the complete version. This is just the early pre-alpha phase as they place landmarks and things like that for later refining. So some of the other areas you'll be visiting are the ruins of Vivec and Ebonheart and Morrowind. Obviously, the explosion of Red Mountain has rendered all of Vardenfell derped, so it's going to be a completely different experience than the one you had in Morrowind. And you'll also be going to various dungeons that, if you played the first Elder Scrolls game, you'll be familiar with, like the Crypt of Hearts, the Fang Lair, the Elden Grove, Halls of Colossus. The idea of the Odyssey is that you'll be traveling around from place to place. And that's pretty much it. Is for plot reasons, you will be exploring the world, or at least parts of the world. Plot critical points. On the side, they'll be reintroducing mithril and adamantium as crafting materials for high-end content. So, with Skyrim, you're kind of locked into certain material types, but you'll gain access to the material types that were in earlier Elder Scrolls games by visiting these areas that were in previous games. And that gives us a higher tier of crafting for the player. Now, the biggest and most exciting thing they have planned is that their quest structures are going to be branching paths, with some areas providing the illusion of choice, kind of like the way the Elder Scrolls does it now, and some of the bigger areas giving you multiple playthrough potential in the sense that the results of your actions may be largely different. And that's super exciting. I can only think of a couple mods that have any kind of real choices and consequences in play, and it looks like this one from the onset is planning to do that. Normally, I'd be skeptical if I heard about a mod planning to do all these things, but I've already seen what the lead developer can do on Legacy the Dragonborn. And from the meetings, I can tell he's learned a lot from the less refined things Legacy contained. I've had several discussions with the developer, so I certainly have an idea of what he's learned and how he's grown from that original mod, which I still love the hell out of, by the way, flaws and all. Now, normally when people ask me what I think about a mod that hasn't come out yet, for example, Awake, the Manny Marco mod, I'll shrug and say, until it's out in some form, I'm not going to be excited about it. Well, let's be honest here. What happened to that Awake Manny Marco mod? Apparently, Apollo Down had a meltdown regarding Donald Trump getting into office. Personally, I don't think that politics and modding should overlap in any way, shape, or form, but he felt otherwise, and because of his meltdown, we apparently don't have Awake the Manny Marco mod released. And this can happen with any mod, period. But even before that happened, I had adopted this policy of just not getting excited for mods that aren't out yet because they could be in production for years, or in the case of a few Morrowind mods, decades. I mean, Awake was just a really good example. See, with most big scale projects, like with Tamriel Rebuilt for Morrowind, I adopt a wait and see approach, and then as these mods release bits of content, like Tamriel Rebuilt's old Ebonheart revamp, things like that, I look at those and I'm like, oh cool, another chunk of content to play through, and I get excited for that. And that's what I've come to expect, is small chunks of content coming from the community, with the larger projects being this almost fictitious thing that it may never come out. Just wait and see. It turns out it's a lot of fun when it does come out, aka Beyond Skyrim Bruma. But, looming on the horizon, we got a Skywind, which might be out tomorrow, might be out 3 years from now, might be out never. So I always adopt the wait and see approach. But in this particular case, because I've seen what Ice Cream Assassin is capable of, I've actually been given the opportunity to try out and explore some of these areas. I'm rather excited for what I've seen, and I can't wait to see more. Obviously, I'm only displaying a fraction of what they have on the table. And my goal here is to provide a little bit of content, just more or less a teaser of this. And I'll be talking about some of the things they have planned in the first week of October, if I'm so able. Now, Ice Cream Assassin, that is the name of the lead developer, he approached me because I was a fan of Legacy the Dragonborn, and he wanted me to drum up support for his project. Something I personally think it does need a shout out, because Legacy the Dragonborn itself is very underrepresented in the Skyrim community, and Odyssey looks like a monumental project that I really want to support. So I'm going to leave Ice Cream Assassin's Odyssey the Dragonborn Discord in the description, and in a pinned comment, take your pick. Along with it, I will include one or two other website links related to it, as well as my Legacy the Dragonborn playthrough playlist at the very bottom, because why the hell not? In my Legacy the Dragonborn playthrough, I play as a jackass, high elf nobleman who's decided to take all the relics for himself, and slowly but surely I end up on the path of righteousness or something, even if the character comes from very, very racist, anti-human origins. That's the idea anyway. Working for the greater good for all the wrong reasons. Bumble your way into the greater good, more or less. Now, as far as the Odyssey the Dragonborn project goes, they could really do with some dungeon builders, 3D modelers, and texture artists. The biggest thing they need help with is creature and armor rigging, but that's because they really want to fine-tune these details. However, any of the mentioned roles could really help them out. If you have any level of interest in this project, I recommend getting a hold of them with that Discord link. This project is quite ambitious, but in my eyes, not unobtainable. Now again, if Legacy the Dragonborn has piqued your interest and you've never heard of it before, check out the playlist link in the video description. That'll be to my current Skyrim playthrough. You can check my website, Zhakaron.com, and I do have a mod list there, which you can check out as well. Again, I will be talking about some of the finer details about what they have planned for this mod, and giving it the proper coverage it deserves in the first week of October, most likely. The last week of September, I'm going to be unavailable, and I've got a bunch of stuff that I want to rapid fire out as far as content goes before that happens. So yeah, again, just check those links to see what the project has to offer. And for anything else, check the links on screen for more content, or check out my main YouTube channel page for social media links there. And I will see y'all next time.